All right, guys. I'm Carla. I am a product manager and marketing manager for Digital Anarchy. Jay has been doing video plugins for 20 years now. We love video and we love to see how video is being used by our customers. So we're gonna have a conversation. Hello, if anybody wants to sit down. We're just gonna have a conversation around how Margarita and Angela are building their brand visually and how they are using video to engage with audiences and reflect that identity on screen and not only the live performances. So I'm gonna ask each of you to give a little introduction, talk about each band. They're very different bands, and then we can go from there.
Well, I'm Margarita. I have a band called Edge of Paradise. The band is has sci-fi and futuristic themes. So video for me is very important to build out the world that I want people to be immersed when they're listening to our music. So for me, it's all about reflecting the song and what the story is. And I'm very grateful that these days we have so many tools that we can create pretty much anything and bring it to life on film and video. And I've been using Digital Anarchy plugins for over 5 years now. It really helps me enhance and keep the video looking very pro. So no matter what type of footage I have, it's always very helpful to polish it up and achieve the result that I'm looking for.
And I am Angela LaFlamme, angelalaflamme.com. And I'm going through rebranding, so it's been really helpful to make this video with Digital Anarchy. I was formerly in the band LaFlamme and have now moved into my own branding. So it's really exciting, and I just love storytelling. And so having this way to tell stories, that's what songs are to me. That's why I got into songwriting. That's where I got into music. There's no better way to do it. I mean, I love performing live, of course. That's where it's at, connecting with your audience in that way. But being able to have a video that really shows people the story and that also gives them a look into your world that you're creating and the aesthetic. So when they come to the shows, for my show's example, I kind of do mid-century kind of feeling with a modern gypsy jazz rock edge. So people can put their cute outfits on. They know what to do. They know how to, relate to us. So I think that leaning into that is the best way to really move forward. I just watched a panel before I got here with Money Cat. I don't know if you guys know who they are, but that's what they were talking about. Staying authentic and telling stories visually. So Angela just got started and talked about the band identity and how they built it. So I was curious if you guys have both very different bands. So talk a little bit about your aesthetic and how you started building it. I love the Margarita actually creates some of the props she uses on the music videos. So I love to see the craft as well.
Well, yeah, from the props to the outfit. So my band numbers are right there, so maybe they can join me and then help me. But
They're cheering in the background.
oh yeah, but I also envisioned us to be kind of like space wars, because in a way, having a band, it's it's us against the world, trying to build a brand. And with the music, it was on their graphic novel. I made a graphic novel called Hologram It Plays to Forever, and it basically tells the story of our albums where we live in this futuristic world where holographic technology makes it possible to travel anywhere you want in the universe. So we're on this the most volatile planet, and we're basically fighting for humanity. It's us against artificial intelligence. So yeah, I want to create this feel of space warriors, but to still keep the humanity and the soul, because the music, even though it's set into these futuristic themes, kind of out of this world, but there's very soul and humanity inside, and it's very personal, the themes that I talk about in music. So with video and with the props and the outfits, for me everything has to go together.
From the beginning, I wanted to have coherency throughout our music videos, the albums, the photos. It's very important that, when people look back and they're like, okay, they instantly know that's Edge of Paradise.
So I really wanted to achieve
Yeah. How do you both think that cohesive aesthetic helps with the online presence and engaging with the audiences? You just mentioned that when someone see a video from you guys or a cover for an album, they know it's Edge of Paradise. I'm sure Angela feels the same way about your identity. How does that help you engage with audiences and build that presence online?
Well, I think it's helpful because, well, when people listen to our music, I always wanted it to be multidimensional so they can visualize the route, visualize the world. It's kind of like if you think of a movie, if you think of Star Wars, you right away kind of see that world. If you think of Interstellar, like you get that feeling. So it was important for me to create that. So yeah, with the outfits, with on stage, like the stage lighting, what we have on stage, just everything, the makeup.
We're gonna talk about makeup soon. Angela? Yeah, so the question was about aesthetics. Yeah, and how you think having a cohesive aesthetic helps building the online presence and engaging with your audience. Yeah. So when we first started out, we really tapped into the Burning Man crowd. We're from San Francisco. So it started out that way. And also that whole speakeasy vibe, we started out in 2009. So bringing that whole kind of 1920s, 30s, 40s into the whole scene. So people were really into wearing their outfits and putting their makeup on, guys putting their three-piece suits on, nice shoes, and coming and dancing and having fun and relating to each other in that way. We would even have like little mini fake gambling casinos and all kinds of burlesque dancers and stuff like that. And so I think that really helped people feel like they were inside of a different era. Yeah, and you see that on your guys' live performances. And I think starting to talk a little bit more about video, I think it's pretty amazing to see that vibe built into the video. On the live performances, you have the crowd to help them, but with the video, you really need to pay attention on how you're creating the story, laying out everything, the lighting, the editing. So yeah, we recently recorded a professional video with Angela. I think most of the videos you had before were all for live performances. So talk a little bit about, participating on that and how you felt about it. And then we're going to talk about video editing with Margarita. It was a great experience. It was so exciting. So the whole story, the song is called One Step Forward, Two Steps Back. And it's about you're in a relationship and you get that, dance feeling of somebody pulling back and you're pulling them back in, and, this kind of tragic romance thing happening. So Jim actually had the idea to bring tango dancers in to illustrate that. And then I played a tarot card reader in another segment of the video. And then the lighting. The lighting was amazing, and the venue that we chose is very atmospheric, kind of brought all those elements in. It's called something Bohemia, Salon Bohemia, I think. But all these old paintings, I think there's a Victrola, old piano, antique furniture, so you're getting that whole vibe. It's brought into the video. And then, I just love silent film and the look of that. And so those elements were definitely brought into the 20s, 30s, and 40s feeling and vibe with the colors, the sound. Yeah, and for that video we had every aspect of video production. We have the storyboards, and Margarita also does for her videos. We had choosing the equipment, choosing the scouting the location, and I think lighting was a big piece of it. For the tango dance, we're gonna play the video soon. But Margarita, how do you feel about going through the whole pre-production process as well? And how do you think lighting also affects your video?
Yeah, so I start with the storyboards because I want to make sure I have everything in my head, how I want the video to play out. So if I have a clear idea, it really helps me to make it happen. So then I can communicate with people. Like, for example, it's very important to build a team you trust. I've used the same video team for over 4 music videos now, and we know how to work together. The lighting guy knows our aesthetic, the the angles we like and the energy, the producer, we have art department that helps us build the sets.
So it's very important to build people, to have the people that understand your vision. So that's part of it is very
one of the first steps that you want to do. Unless you're doing everything yourself, which is, you can do that too. And I encourage everyone to get into video editing and video making because you can have so much fun just bringing your visions to life. So anyway, so once I have the storyboard, I try to communicate all my visions with the team. Then we scout the location. Then we try to get the outfits. Then if the arts department is filming the sets, we do everything in the mornings. We prepare everything beforehand. Do everything in the morning and then start shooting. So the lighting is very important because it really builds the atmosphere. But at the same time, you really have to, like I do a lot of portion where I make everything coherent because sometimes, like for example, on the video you're going to show, like for the band scene, we had completely different lighting. It was much more warm. So it was important for me that I figured out how to, adjust the lighting so it fits the mood of the other scenes, but still had that juxtaposition, but still, the whole video has an overall feel where everything flows together very nice. So yeah, I go from, storyboard, planning, communicating to the team, building, outfits, all of that. And then on the day of the shoot, just keep my fingers crossed that we can, do everything on time because there's always, it's so important to be efficient because there's always the time limit on everything basically. So, going scene by scene, that's why I need to have everything visualized in my head so I know every shot that I need for editing afterwards. And then, it's going through the footage. I usually start with the band scene, the performance footage to really, convey the energy of the song. And then I start overlaying the story footage on top of the performance and then start tying everything together. And then they'll start using the colors, the plugins, the effects, and we'll pull everything together.
Yeah, I'm curious, is anybody here doing music videos? Yeah, cool. What I heard a lot yesterday after our talk, people were like hanging out and asking questions, and I heard a lot of people, mention how expensive music videos are, how expensive the productions can be. Video editing, like outsourcing, can be really expensive. And you mentioned that, you used to hire an editor to do your editings, but now you kind of do a little bit more of that. A little bit, I think, because of the cost, but also because you felt like the editors were not reflecting your whole idea to the videos.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about the process of getting into video editing to actually have your vision come to life.
Yeah, so I mean that's one of the reasons that I wanted to get out. At first, I asked someone, I was like, well, can you fix some of these scenes? And the cost just adds up the more edits you ask for. So then I'm like, okay, I'll just figure it out how to do it myself. Then I'm like, all right, this is kind of fun. And then I start doing it myself, and then more and more you start learning the programs. And I really like that stuff because I like being creative. So I started to enjoy the video editing process, and the more I did it, the more I learned. I watched a lot of other music videos. I watched a lot of movies. I tried to incorporate, the vision of a movie. I love that a bit like Interstellar, the fountain with Star Wars feel to it. So I wanted to be a cross between like a really powerful music video and a really cool movie that I like. So for me, I wanted to edit because I wanted that vision to come across. And that's one of the main reasons I got into it. And of course, cost as well, because I would rather put that money into the production of it, into the locations, into, getting the footage, top notch, and then, do it myself. So it's just important. You have to prioritize what you want to use your money for. Or you can do everything yourself. So one of the videos actually, Welcome to the Jungle. I mean, it's not one of our like pop production videos, but don't tell anyone, but we shot it on an iPhone.
There's a lot of iPhone productions nowadays. You can plug mics on it. You can do so much. Nikki is gonna present after, and she's gonna talk about how to choose like their basic equipment, to get started. But Angela, you, as I mentioned before, you didn't do many professional video productions before, I don't think. I was wondering, how did you feel like seeing the actual edit come together, and how did it look? Did it look the same as you thought when you were on site filming? Because that's another important thing. Edit can change things completely. Yeah, this is I guess the second professional video that I've ever done. I mean, the other ones are all live performance. I guess a video that actually has a story, right? It was so exciting, and definitely I was surprised by the way things came together. And I got to work hands-on with Jim and kind of trade ideas and bring it together, and that's really cool. And I guess you get to do a lot of that too, right? Where you're like, oh, actually this should go here. We need to flip-flop these two things, and then it has more of a cohesive feel to it. So that was super exciting to me, like seeing everything come together and just flow with the song, because we actually kind of worked with the live band stuff too. Yeah, so that was fun. Yeah, I want to make sure we have time for some Q&A. Does anybody have any questions so far? I'm going to play the videos, and then we can open up and talk a little bit about visual effects. You're going to see how, Beauty Box, some of the plugins are applied to the videos, and Margarita can also talk about other visual effects she uses. So while they put the videos up, we're going to play Death Note, which is the latest video from Margarita, and we're going to play One Step Forward from Angela. And Margarita, you mentioned that the aesthetic of that last video changed a lot. So we can also talk a little bit about how that changed from Mask to now.
Yeah, and also the plugins I used on this was the Beauty Box and also the Samurai Sharp. So you guys know.
So you mentioned that the lighting was way warmer.
Yeah, so for the band scenes, so here like these scenes were quite warmer than these, just because of the lighting and also the gains that footage on the screens gave off the light. So some of them were blue, some of them were red. And I had to fix afterwards so it has the cool tone throughout the video, but still not lose the reds. I had some trouble to still make sure that red tone come through, like the hair, like some of the outfit. So I'm going scene by scene. Took a while.
Now can we play Angela? So yeah, I love, it didn't stop to show how you kind of mirror yourself on Premiere Pro, but we can talk about that later too. And that's the video we produced with Angela in December. And we scouted the location, we did everything.
I love this vintage sort of look, it's cool.
I love how different it is. It's such a nice track.
Fierce and tender, but that doesn't mean wobbly little stream into the deep. But if you wait too long, you're gonna burst. Little too old, hide and seek, but oh, your lips and your teeth. Wild, innocent, outspoken and shy, a true Gemini. Oh, steps back. Keep going like this, I'm gonna cry. I said one step forward, two steps back. Keep going like this, I'm gonna cry. Well, I'm a thirsty little ghost, just one more. My hands take and explore. Oh, make me your willing whore. Oh, one thing I can say is it's never a bore.
Yeah. So, I really love the way lighting play a role on both of those videos, and I really love to see that the aesthetic of each band is really recognizable. And anything else? It's our last. We've been doing the session for 3 days. It's been different every day. Yeah.
Hello. Hey. Thank you so much for showing your art, guys. I loved it. I think it was very inspiring to see the difference between complexity and simplicity in your own unique styles, and that was really interesting for me to learn. Specifically, a few questions about the complexity in your video. Margarita? Thank you, Margarita. But how are you able to showcase some of those displays in the backgrounds of your videos? Is that with LED screens?
Yeah, we use this. It's the second time we used LED screens. Now a lot of these film studios, they're putting up these LED screens just because a lot of the time you can do a virtual production now. It's a little more expensive, but you can get someone to extend the world of the screen, the footage running in the background. So they're building out like a 360 type of a feel. So you're filming, in front of that LED screen. But if you turn and the camera turns with you, the footage kind of extends. So now with virtual production, you can build out these models and then you basically create any world you want.
So that's a post-production technique? That's like a software technique?
Yeah. Well, you have to have someone to make the footage for you to film in front of, and then in post-production they fill in the blanks around.
Understood. So all the LED stuff you had in your design, did you make that or you had someone make that?
I had a mix. I downloaded some footage that I kind of tweaked. Then I made some footage myself. Like I did some painting, so I drop paints and then I kiln it. And like in the water, it just creates so many effects. You can use like ink in like oil and just create some really cool visuals. And then if you film it super close, like on a huge screen, it just looks crazy. And it really, there's a lot of tricks. Think outside the box, and a lot of tricks you can come up.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? Any questions? No? That's it? Well, thank you so much. I loved how the talk was different each day. I think the first day we talked more about the actual aesthetic. People have a lot of questions about your wardrobe and how you chose. Yesterday was a lot like video editing heavy. We talked way more about the plugins, and today I think it was a cool mix. Thank you everybody for coming. That's not us. And I hope you got some information. We're going to be sending out some demos for the plugins. Anybody can download, anybody can play around with it, use it. And coming next, we have Nikki talk about choosing cameras, choose lighting, and a bunch of different elements. So stick around if you can.